Today we've got the Bootleg high-grade ground type Gundam from KK. If you're curious about this third-party Gunpla, I'll break down the build quality, the quirks, and whether this kit is worth adding to your shelf. Stick around, by the end you'll know if this is worth your time and money. What's up, Gunpla fam? This ground type Gundam was highly recommended by a viewer. Grunt Suits, my dude, thank you so much. If you have an amazing bootleg or third-party kit, comment below to share with the viewers just like you. Thank you. First, let's take a look at this box. You can see the luxurious black, the only large letters KK. Normally I'm not a fan, but it works well for this kit. Taking a quick look at this manual here, you can see there is a decent amount of runners with it, but this thing builds up so nicely, and you can take a quick glance. There is a little bit of color on the backside, and I absolutely love that storage. And the best thing about this kit is it does come with water slides. Well, it's actually double-edged. We'll come back to that in a little bit later. Switching over to the runners now, we can take a look and see. Just honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm impressed with the quality of the molding. The print itself looks very nice, very clean all the way through. There's no overmold at all, and I would say the plastic quality on this is very solid, very nice. And this, of course, is ABS plastic, so make sure when you're using your panel lining to switch it up with more of a water base, just to keep it a little bit extra protection on that. And I do love the fact this has a curved beam saber effect with that, and finishing out with the poly caps and that added base on there. Guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Moving into the articulation, I always like to show this just because it allows you to see what all potential posing you can do with this kit, and if there's any certain breakdown of weak points on this kit for manipulating it. You can see there's a nice forward movement with that shoulder that does allow for nice dynamic posing with those larger weapons that this thing is packed full of, by the way. 360 spin at that upper bicep and a solid double bend right there at the arm. And of course that additional bend allows for a better control, more natural hold on the actual weapons too. Always love a double bend on the arms. A good side swing side to side on those torso, and then a nice ab crunch as well. I will say that torso at the bottom section actually sits loose on there, so you do have a little bit of jiggle. Then take a look at the front skirts here. Side skirts do lift up and they are on a peg. They're a little bit hard to kind of turn around there and adjust, but doable. Very solid splits, and honestly the articulation on this kit was super impressive just for that boxier design. I think KK did a phenomenal job trying to include this. Nice double bend at the leg. You can see the leg sweeps all the way forward, however that rear skirt does prevent it from the back. Twist there at the ankle, solid for some deep dynamic posing. Switching back around to the backpack here, there is a solid amount of movement just for that back, for the large box container that sits on here. This thing doesn't stand up freely with it on the back. You can get a couple of small poses, but very limited. Without it, does just fine. So taking a look, there's so many accessories and weapons, and honestly this might be one of my favorite designs for the weapons. 8th MS team just have more traditional, realistic looking style guns. So moving into that 180mm cannon, this thing does have some movement in the handle there, and it is part of the breakdown for the container fit. The container here does open up nicely, and you have a little holder to slide that in there. We'll go ahead and show that in a little bit. But switching over to the machine gun here, the handle on the side does move some, and then of course that has a nice flip back there to give that realistic vibe. The beam rifle itself, awesome. It's honestly one of my favorite beam rifle designs. And I will say, both with the beam rifle and the gun, unfortunately the scope collars are water slides. So you've seen real quick with the beam sabers, you actually get a third with that curve. And then of course an open palm and a trigger finger. And that trigger finger actually causes some issues. So let's go ahead and show how that opens up and sits right in there. You can see how the weapons break down. So the 180mm cannon does break up in pieces, and you can see it slides out nice. I did struggle a little bit, but that's just because of connection points. And it sits in that container there perfectly. Slides in, and right there it is contained all the ways in there. I did have another viewer tell me you can actually get the sub rifle in, or the sub machine gun in there as well, but I honestly, there is so much left over on this kit that you won't have storage for, unfortunately. And I did almost forget to mention the clip can sit right there on the door and tucks away nicely. The shield, one of my favorite designs for the shield, because the white dingo has a very similar type. And then the saber hilts right here actually popping a leg. You will need a part separator to get this thing open because it is tight. Once you get them in there, it uses that slot on the side to peg into that piece, and then you pop it right back on. Again, pretty good. So pros and cons with this kit is, first off, you just gotta look at it and see how amazing it looks. There is so many accessories packed in with it, and frankly, this has been the best bootleg I have ever built. The quality is all the ways around phenomenal. I love this water slide details. Again, they are double-edged. And then I do love the clarity of the plastic print. Even the back side of it, man, it looks just absolutely gorgeous. Normally you see a little bit of print. For being for an ABS too, it doesn't even feel ABS. It's very solid all the ways around. The dynamic posing articulation is phenomenal. However, we do have some issues, starting with this cuff right here on the arm. It did crack on me. Didn't do it until I put the trigger finger in. I don't think the trigger finger quite fits in there. And speaking of that, because the way the sandwich holds on there as well, that heavier weapons do pop out. The water slides, guys, unfortunately, that also covers the eyes, and they don't show up very well. And along with that, also on the beam rifle itself and the submachine gun as well. So, you know, with those, they look great. However, you don't have the more reflective collar stickers that you might want to put on for the scopes and stuff like that. I highly recommend this kit for you guys. Absolutely love it. It was so fun to build and pose. All the ways around, best quality bootleg I've had. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you check out this recommended video. And until next time, love.